Chapter 3 Standoff. I need to talk. I thought about going back to sleep, but I couldn't. Since I'd arrived in this village, I felt like I was falling down a rabbit hole, or rather a wolf's den. My dreams were getting more and more vivid and I was scared. I needed to talk it over with someone I trusted. Anya. I'd come here with Anya, and despite all the strange things I'd done, she still stuck with me. I messaged her and she messaged me back. I'm on a walk, come join me. The sun had just set and the moon wasn't up yet. I started walking. The forest loomed on the horizon, the activists' camp was somewhere there. We met near the shop in Białowieża. It was a characteristic enough point and easy to get to from anywhere in town. What is it? Anya asked. She looked worried. Don't you think there's something really strange happening here? With all the people and the forest? I'm scared, Anya. There's something strange happening, she nodded. But I have no idea what it is. I know even less than you. She frowned. Maybe we should go to your new friends, the activists. She smiled a little. They are weird. They must know something. I smiled. That's why I came to you. You have the best ideas. She smiled and started walking. Let's go. I'm sure they're not sleeping. Do you mind if I text Bartek? I promised I'd meet him tonight. I didn't mind and he soon joined us. We went to the activists' camp. All together now. The camp had a different vibe than the logging site protest. There were more people there. We looked around trying to take it all in. The people in the camp seemed quite cheerful. I saw people at work. Some of them were filling big barrels with sand, some were busy making what seemed to be posters. The rest were singing or cooking. Everyone was contributing in one way or another. I have no idea what your plan is, said Bartek, but you have my full support. Hello, I said as I approached. Colonel smiled at me. Hello, he said. What brings you here? I shrugged and dug my hands deeper into the pockets of my jeans. I have so many questions about myself, the forest and the logging. Colonel looked at me with those uncanny grey eyes. I could feel his attention lock on me. It's okay, he said. Join us and you'll understand. We're here to stop what's happening, to show that we don't agree and that we hope to make a difference. Will it work? I asked. I don't know. All I know is that it worked before. It worked for Gandhi. It worked with segregation and apartheid in the end. It worked with communism. So let's see if it works with capitalism as well. Violence is not an option here. He smiled. And I think you know quite well that danger doesn't really get shit done. I knew that. I smiled back. Somehow being around him made me feel more relaxed. I know. You can count on me, I answered. I had a family debt to pay and I couldn't be just an observer anymore. So, we may have a little citizen protest going on tonight, Colonel said. But I'll need your support if you want to convince the others. Alright, the tipping point. They all wanted to do something that night, but after a whole day's discussion they were still divided on what to do. 3 for one option, 3 for the other. I had the deciding votes. Peaceful protest. A little help from my friends. I voted for the peaceful protest and soon we were on our way to the National Park headquarters and education center. We had some banners to install. Bartek hesitated for a long time, but he joined us in the end. I'm only coming because my dad is out tonight and he won't see me coming in late, he mumbled. This is so exciting, Anya whispered. I've never done anything so illegal. As we were on our way, I realized that, in reality, my methods were much more peaceful than my words had been. I shrugged. You live and you learn. The National Park headquarters were located in something called Palace Park. The name, like everything in Poland, was historical. Centuries ago, some king had his hunting lodge there, but now it was a mishmash of old and new buildings scattered around the park. Some were rough and bulky, made of stone and brick, while others were an extravaganza of wooden porches, lace-like shutters, and meticulously sculpted pillars. There was no one around, but the area was well lit. This wasn't your everyday act of vandalism. This was something bigger, more important, yes, but also more dangerous. Getting arrested in Poland didn't seem like a great way to start my visit. In fact, it could be the end of it. Suddenly, I remembered the church located just next to the palace park gate. I could feel its dark silhouette looming in the darkness, waiting. They'd spent the whole day painting the sign on a length of material sewn together from what looked like old sheets that were various shades of greyish white. The dark green letters declared, "Wood is the enemy of the forest." "Where do we hang it?" asked Daniel, who'd come equipped with climbing gear. Whoever Daniel may be. Cornel joined him and they started deliberating on the best way to approach the problem. Sure, take your time. We have the whole night. It's not like anyone might pass by any minute. I hurried them. "It doesn't matter," Olga said, "because hanging the banner is a waste of time." I looked at her, curious what kind of advice she could offer us. So, what could we do better next time? I asked her for advice. "We could vote for a plan that has a chance to actually help the forest." Olga rolled her eyes. "It's a great banner, and I'm sure it'll look good on the pictures published by a number of independent political blogs." She looked at Cornel. "But it's stuck so deep into the overeducated ecological dispute that people won't get it, and the loggers won't care." Cornel sighed and shook his head. "Don't get involved with him," said Pat, leaning toward me. "What are you talking about?" I asked, a bit distracted. She had a weird expression on her face that didn't get it. What was her relationship with Cornel anyway? "Never mind," she said. "Really, it's just you won't be here long." "That's why I should get involved," I laughed. "I see no point in pretending I don't care about the situation." She looked at me, opened her mouth like she was about to say something, and then just let out a long sigh. Finally, we pulled the banner up. "My father will have a stroke when he sees this," Bartek let out a repressed laugh. "It's an important message." Anya looked up with fire in her eyes. "The world must know." I looked at the banner. I was proud of our work. When we finished, Cornel gathered us together. I was proud of what we'd accomplished, and I contributed to that. Whatever my family had done, I was starting to pay back the debt. Cornel reached for his bicycle. "Let's go for a trip," he said, "to remind ourselves what we're trying to protect." Gunshots in the woods. The woods were full of stars. We cycled in silence, enjoying the company of the forest as it enjoyed ours. At some point, a clearing opened up before us. It was surrounded by boulders placed in a circle. It looked relaxed. The soft breeze rustled in the trees, welcoming us. There was something eerie about the place. I cleared my mind and inhaled. There's some kind of energy there, flowing around trying to reach me, but it couldn't. Not without my permission. "Why are we here?" I asked, looking at Cornel. He turned to me, but before he could answer, a loud sound tore through the silence. It was a gunshot. Anya gasped, looking around, wide-eyed and terrified. The others tensed up, but they didn't look concerned, just confused. "We have to get out of here immediately." Bartek's whisper was frantic and scared. "There's a hunting party out here." Cornel turned towards us like he'd finally put something together. There was a rustle and I saw a bunch of men in camo, each of them with a rifle coming toward us between the trees. This seemed dangerous. I took a step back, pulling Anya with me. Their leader weighed us up for a moment and finally focused on Cornel. "This area is closed for the night," the huntsman said in Polish. There was contempt in his voice. "There's a hunt going on and y'all are trespassing. We have police officers here, so I'd go home if I were you, unless you want to get arrested." This was a pile of hot bullshit. The guy reeked of guilt. I assessed the situation. There was still a chance we could talk our way out of it, reasonably. I took a step forward. Let's be reasonable. I looked at the hunters. Maybe we should all go home, I said in Polish. We're disturbing the forest. My voice was calm and steady. It made the huntsman pause. I turned to the hunters, displaying more confidence than I had. For a moment it looked like the man would agree with me, but he just clenched his fists instead. You don't tell me what to do, girl. And stay away from my son, he barked, pointing at Bartek. You hippies go home now, or things will get nasty. I'm not telling you what to do, I'm speaking to everyone here, I answered. He hesitated and then shrugged. This is our forest. We grew up with it and we're not going anywhere. You're the ones who are strangers, so get the fuck out of here. Do you really want to antagonize everyone? I asked, looking at him calmly. There will be a lot of trouble if you go down this path. He hesitated, but Olga grinned. Oh, but it's too late to go back, she said, and before I could react, she launched at him. It escalated quickly. A heartbeat later, a full-blown fight began. Everything was in slow motion, and I could see my new friends grinning and throwing themselves at the armed hunters, not paying attention to the fact that they had rifles at all. Anya took a step toward them the moment Bartek took a step back. They looked at each other, unsure, then looked at me. Alright. Night fight. The clearing shattered like a broken window into sharp pieces, its edges cut clean by the rays of a flashlight swirling in the darkness. One piece, a shout, another, a silhouette leaping, a dodge, a grunt, a punch, a cry. Curses in 3 different languages. Slipped between the pieces hiding in the shadows. A body slammed into one of the men and he stumbled. I kneeled on the ground for a split second, scooped up a handful of dirt, and when he went for me I threw all of it into his face. He cried out in surprise, stumbled, tripped and fell to the ground with a loud thud. A flashlight shone his way. Bartek was kneeling over the fallen guy, trying to wake him up. I saw blood. Blood on his head. Blood on the stone next to his head. Blood on the ground, dark and fresh. It was a fight, and in a fight you sometimes got hurt. I turned away from the man to look for another target. Then I heard a shout. She killed him! One of the men shouted, the horror clear in his voice. He directed his flashlight at my face, blinding me. I ignored him and dodged out of the light. A second later I noticed a huge silhouette behind him. It looked at me and its eyes were glowing. Leave her alone, it growled, and I recognized the voice. It was Cornel. He was bulging, muscles growing bigger, bones getting longer. He let out a joyous roar, throwing his hands, now equipped with strong claws, in the air. He grabbed the man and slashed across his torso. I looked at the 8 feet tall, fur-covered monstrosity, and for a moment I hoped that I was dreaming. Something warm landed on my face. More blood. Howls. Terrified screams. Bartek grabbed my and Anya's wrists. We have to go. The man screamed again and pointed a gun at Cornel. I turned toward the forest and started to run. This was all too much. I looked back, a gunshot tore through the night. And then there was only pain. Bloody moon. The pain was unbearable. Nothing in my life had prepared me for this. Blinded by the blood in my eyes and the searing pain in my shoulder and chest, I could only laugh. This wasn't what I'd expected from this trip. You spend so much time planning only to see a whole life crash and burn. All I could do was laugh. But I knew how serious it was, so I laughed, grinning with bloody teeth until my strength left me and I couldn't hold myself upright anymore. The forest called my fall with a bed of moss and twigs. I stopped thrashing and the cold numbness engulfed me. No, I tried to get up. I punched the earth, trying to get some feeling in my hands. I gritted my teeth. I tried to get up. I collapsed again. I felt so cold. Suddenly there was light. I looked up. The full moon. It looked different. Luna in her full glory. Your willpower dropped to 0. When you lose all your health or willpower, you become impaired. This will make physical tasks, if you have 0 hearts, or social and mental tasks, if you have 0 willpower, harder and sometimes impossible. The moon was a goddess and she noticed me. "Get up," she said. I got up. I feel good. I know that I shouldn't, but I don't remember why. I don't care. My muscles are sore and cramped, so I stretch like I've never stretched before. My arms are longer, my legs are stronger. My heart is pumping and I feel like I've spent my whole life packed into a box and I've finally been set free. I take a breath and feel my ribs and muscles move. The forest smells of blood and fear and excitement. I laugh happily and others' laughter joins me. We laugh and sing to the moon. My mind is clearer than it's ever been before. I see the world in sharp contrasts of black and white, movement and stillness. I smell prey. I hear language in the hooting of owls, the whistling of the wind and the snarling of wolves. I am what I was born to be. Something stings me. There's a small malformed creature pointing a stick at me. The stick blazes with fire and there's another sting. The creature disgusts me. Its arms are too short, its legs bend the wrong way. It's covered with a tangled mass of dead plants and the skins of tortured animals. It reeks of things dark and slimy and decayed. I push the creature away and it flies through the air making funny noises. Then it hits a tree and stays there, pinned to a branch like a butterfly. My ears prick and I hear more creatures running blindly through the bushes. My leg no longer stings and I feel better than ever before. Maybe it's a dream? I think as I move silently through the undergrowth. The creatures are running away. Their backs turn to me. They stumble and shout. Suddenly one of them turns my way, is terrified. I look at it and the creature curls up, shielding its face with its paws. It keeps talking but the noises make no sense. It annoys me, but I ignore it and move on. Piercing light burns my eyes. The creatures surround me. They seem to work like a pack. They are dangerous. I'm too smart for such an ambush. I claw my way through the nearest creature and disappear among the trees. Their frustrated shouts make me laugh. A new smell. The wind brings a new smell. The air tastes of fur and musk and blood. Shapes move among the trees, but they are no creatures. They are people, like me. Suddenly I'm surrounded by them. I think I know them. They seem familiar. It's like I met them in the past, but they were hidden. They close in on me. What do they want? The hair on my neck stands on end and I growl at them. But my voice sounds like a whimper and they just look at me from above. I look up and see no moon, only clouds and tangled branches. Something changes. Something changed and I realized how tired I was. I stumbled. Darkness. Nothing was okay. The night sky was full of stars. I opened my eyes. Confused. The forest around me was thick and dark. The tree trunks, wrapped tightly in dark-leaved ivy, were covered in ripples of lichen, where the vines hadn't taken hold. The thorny, leafless bushes at their base were overrun with nettles. The fungi radiated with a ghoulish, sickly green light. Dark, sponge-like mushrooms clung to the fallen trees. I couldn't think straight, but I knew that something wasn't right. I looked down and saw my hands covered in a dark substance. I was naked. A sticky, glistening film of liquid was clinging to my skin. I could feel it on my face, in my hair. Blood. I crouched down and planted my palms on the soil, my eyes darting back and forth. I was being watched. I remembered my dream and slowly lifted my eyes. There was a severed head right in front of me. The face was contorted, the eyes bulging, the mouth open, the tongue stuck out. It was obscene. I doubled over, retching. Oh God, I recognized that face. It was Bartek, his face splattered with dried blood. There was so much of it I couldn't see his freckles. The head watched me with reproach. I crumpled and curled into a ball, sobbing quietly. The bushes rustled, and a moment later I saw Cornell coming out from between the trees. He looked at me, at the head, at my face. He came closer and squatted beside me. "This is what we were trying to tell you." His grey eyes smiled. "See, you're a werewolf." I looked at him. I blinked. Everything faded to black.